Quiet Place Day One is the newest film in the A Quiet Place franchise, directed by Michael Sarnoski and stars the likes of Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, just to name a few. And today, we need to talk about it. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into another video. And like I already noted, today we are talking about A Quiet Place Day One, a movie that I was anticipating as I moved my mic a little bit closer. A movie that I was certainly anticipating due to the success and rave reviews from myself of the original two A Quiet Place movies. So I was looking forward to this one, looking forward to seeing this new turn and twist on this franchise and getting to the kind of the meat and potatoes of what this universe is. What happened on day one? We had a flashback to day one with John Krasinski's family in the second movie that only kind of scratched the surface as to what was actually going on in those first days when the aliens attacked. And so this was a very interesting route that they were going to take that I was very interested to see what they did. We're going to get into a full review of this. I'm going to talk about everything I liked, everything I did not like. But before we do that, if you want more videos like this, make sure you subscribe. These videos have been doing really well. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And make sure you subscribe. Don't miss out. I'm doing videos like this every single week because we got a bunch of great movies coming out to end out the year. And also, go check out my review for Hitman. It's going to be linked in the description. Go check it out. I really enjoy that one. So go watch. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to read the synopsis. I'm going to get into all my thoughts on A Quiet Place Day One. As New York City is invaded by alien creatures who hunt by sound, a woman named Sammy fights to survive. Now, the trailers don't give everything away about the circumstances that our characters are in leading up to that fateful day. And that's okay. I actually think that was actually a pleasant surprise because it kept me on my toes and kind of changed what I was thinking overall about going into the film. Spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. If you don't want to hear spoilers, click away right now. 3, 2, 1. Sammy's character, played by Lupita Nyong'o, has a terminal form of cancer. She was in a hospice home when this happened. I did not know that. And I don't think many other people knew that. So that kind of completely shifted my thought process and perspective on this film as a whole, because the motivations of our characters are now starkly different than I thought they were going in. And that's okay. I actually kind of liked it. That kept me on my toes. So safe to say that anticipation turned into a new form of anticipation to actually see where they were going to go with this story. I'm going to get into the writing a little bit later because I actually do think that's one of the weaker parts of the film. Let's get into what I really liked first. Every Quiet Place movie is going to be top-notch in terms of technical. That just is what it is. Sound design in particular is always flawless with these movies. I mean, you know what you're going to get at this point. You're going to get that top-notch sound design, and it is. Watched it in an IMAX theater. It was booming when it needed to be. It was dead quiet when it needed to be. Every single little movement and chip of glass and every footstep, you were on the edge of your seat. What's going to happen? Are they going to show up? And that we got that with the first two movies in theaters as well. Like this is a theater movie if you really want to get immersed in this experience. That it adds to the tension and all of that. So yeah, top-notch technical once again. The visual effects, I saw some people didn't think the visual effects were that great. I thought they were fine. I thought they looked really good. The editing, I think, in particular, was pretty good as well. Set design, costume design, get the job done. I didn't think there was anything special there. The set design was pretty good. Costume design got the job done. I didn't think that anything in that route excelled. But overall, I think it's just what you expect from A Quiet Place movie in this franchise. You've got top-notch technical and some of the best sound design that you're going to get in a movie all year. You just know that already. So I don't think I need to say any more about that than I already have. Performances. I mean, Lupita Nyong'o. I was already aware of your game, but now I'm even more aware of your game. Like, Lupita Nyong'o is incredible in this movie. I talked a lot about this when I did my reviews and analysis on The Batman, which came out 2 years ago now. Facial acting is a thing. And if you do it well, that's just as good of a performance as reciting lines. And sometimes it can even be better than some of those performances. I talked about with Robert Pattinson in The Batman and how great his ocular acting was with his eyes. Lupita Nyong'o does the same thing here. Her facial expressions, her eyes, just the way she reacts to things, and that facial acting is one of the best performances I've seen this year. I mean, she brings just incredible intensity to this role, and she hardly says anything. Like, that's award-worthy type stuff. Will she be up for awards? Probably not. I would vouch for her to be up for awards. Do I think it'll happen? I don't know. But I mean, his performance is top-notch. It's one of the reasons you go see movies is to see a performance like this. Joseph Quinn, I was not aware of your game because I have not caught up on Stranger Things. You can be mad at me in the comments if you want. I didn't watch past season, I think, 2. So Joseph Quinn, I was not familiar with your game. All I saw was all of the simp TikToks and fan posts. That's all I saw. He was great. I thought he brought a level of depth that was a little unexpected, but pleasantly surprising. Him and Lupita Nyong'o have fantastic chemistry. They are great together. And, they are our two main performances. There are some others throughout, some other characters that we come into contact with throughout the movie, but it really is their movie. And I believed it. I liked it. I was on board. I felt passion and emotion for these characters, and watching Lupita Nyong'o's character in general go through her story, once we got to the end, it elicited the emotion it needed to elicit, which I thought was good. And that's all credit to the performances. If it's not for the performances, this movie is not as good as it is. I'm going to give some credit to Michael Sarnoski here. Great job filling the very big shoes of John Krasinski in this franchise. The action, intense set pieces here, while predictable, and again, I'll get into the writing in a second, while predictable, were very well executed and were exactly what you would expect from a movie in this franchise. They're loud, they're bombastic, they are tense, they leave you on the edge of your seat, they leave you holding your breath like you're the one being stared down by one of these blind aliens. It's good. The vision was there. It was executed properly, and I think that he kicked it out of the park. He's the director of Pig, a movie that came out, I believe, 2 years ago that I really enjoyed, and he has now upped it to big budget franchise blockbuster directing and did it very well. So yeah, the vision was great. He filled in some pretty big shoes with John Krasinski and did it well. Did it very, very well. Let's talk about the writing. This is going to be my biggest point of contention. This is going to be my biggest weakness. And I just want to say off the top that the ending does redeem it for me a bit. I will not get into any more spoilers. Go watch this movie. That's all I'm going to say. I will not get into any spoilers. But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I felt very aimless at times in this movie. And I felt like the movie was rather aimless. I felt like for a majority of the time we were just we were meandering around New York. And while that is an interesting take on this universe and seeing the carnage and seeing what happened on day one. Once we kind of got out of day one, it was, we're trying to get to a location. The end goal, I didn't necessarily think met the means to get to that location. And all we were really accomplishing was setting up more tense action set pieces. I felt like that story was a vessel to just have obstacles along the way without any real conclusion. Now, there is context here, and the context is about Sammy and, again, having terminal cancer and wanting to like live her life the fullest with the time that she has. And I like that, and I understand that, and I think it worked to a point. This film does tackle the theme of life, if that makes sense, and what it means to live life to the fullest. And I like that theme, and I think it did work here, and I think the ending kind of redeems and saves that theme to a point. But I just felt like for a large majority of the movie, we are kind of just meandering around. And I get it. It's a movie about survival and a movie about getting from point A to point B and surviving. But there are like different side quests along the way that I just didn't think needed to be there and didn't do the story justice, if that makes sense. It's a short movie. It's like an hour and a half. And I still felt like we could have cut some of what was there. And I don't necessarily think that's a good thing for a movie that's that short. And again, I just think that there was a loss of focus at times and a loss of end game, if that makes sense. And, you know, I don't know. It just, that writing just didn't fully work for me. Now, the writing that did work for me is the ending. I felt like for a long time we were trying to fulfill a character arc, but I didn't feel like it was being fulfilled, if that makes sense. But by the time we got to the end, I feel like they did level up quite a bit with the decisions they decided to make. I'm not going to get into those decisions because we are getting into very heavy spoiler territory, but the ending does redeem the issues I have just a bit. Bug in the way. So I know that was a lot of rambling, and let me just summarize kind of my thoughts here. This film is interesting because it takes this franchise that we know, it takes it down to its bare bones of day one and tries to tell a story about living life and living it to the fullest with the time that you have, while also injecting it in the middle of apocalyptic day one, aliens have invaded, let's put a bunch of action sequences in between before we actually finally see any character development, and then get to the end, okay, we redeemed it a little bit. It's kind of how I felt this movie was. You get some build-up at the beginning, you learn about the character, you learn about how they feel, a lot of obstacles along the way, a la action set pieces of the aliens. And then a thing happens at the end, and you're like, okay, some character development happened here. It redeems it a little bit. How did we really get there? On rewatch, I might respect it a little bit more if I see where it's going and I realize where it's going. But upon my first watch, it was a little underwhelming to me, in my opinion. If you're going to go down that route, let's add a little bit more depth to the story. I don't think that is anything on Lupita Nyong'o or Joseph Quinn or any of the actors. I do just think it was the writing was sloppy at best. Not the worst writing I've ever seen. And I know it sounds like I'm really beating it down, because again, it did redeem itself at the end, and I did like the route that it took at the end. I didn't expect that to happen, and that pleasantly surprised me. but I felt like we might have been able to get there a little bit more concisely. That's just me. To tie a bow on this, I still really enjoyed A Quiet Place Part 1. I rated it an 84 out of 100 on my scale. That's a good grade. So I recommend this movie. Go watch it, especially in a theater. I think the performances alone are stunning, especially Lupita Nyong'o's performance. I think the set pieces, while kind of meandering and a little bit formulaic and a little bit predictable, are still good and are still tense. It's got the very tense moments. But in the end, I just find the movie a little, like I said, predictable, formulaic, and fatty. I think if you trim some of the fat, you really got to the core of this human story. It probably would have worked for me a little bit better. That's just me, though. That's just me. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Yeah, that's it. That's where I'm going to end it. Go watch A Quiet Place Day 1. Let me know your thoughts. Get down below in the comments. I've been responding to the comments. I've been checking it out, seeing you guys' opinions. I really like it. I really respect you guys' opinions. I want you to change my mind. Change my mind for me. I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. That's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Do all the things you do on YouTube, especially hitting that subscribe button. We're growing the channel. It's growing. I appreciate it. Go check out my Hitman review. It's linked in the description down below. And yeah, once again, that is pretty much it. I appreciate you all so much for watching. Go check out A Quiet Place Day 1. I recommend it. Have a rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video.